You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock. That means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here with you, Garrett.
Our story today starts, our Top 4 rather, starts in Brevard County with really just a tragic story that happened this morning.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to report a drowning of a 4-year-old little boy with autism who was reported missing earlier this morning in Brevard County. Brevard County Sheriff's deputies said that they got a frantic call from the boy's mom saying her son had unlocked the door and gotten out of their home at the Mission Bay Apartments in Rockledge. Less than an hour later, deputies say that they found that child dead in a pond. You're looking at a chopper video here of the area where they were looking for, again, a little less than an hour after getting that frantic call from the mom. Authorities believe that the child may have slipped down the bank of the pond and into the water and sadly did not know how to swim. Authorities are continuing to investigate this incident, but just such a tragic story, Garrett.
Yeah, and investigators said also that, you know, he really was found just kind of right around the corner from where the apartment where they were living was. So really just tragic in a lot of ways, and also difficult for the first responders dealing with the situation as well. That was something that Todd Goodyear's PIO for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office talked about when he was giving reporters an update on this situation earlier.
Unfortunately, we've had a 4-year-old that has passed away. We received a call about 8:30 this morning from a mother who was frantic that said her child had gotten out of the house. Somehow he had unlocked the door. Our units arrived, started searching the grounds of the apartment complex, around the lakes and all that, and at about 9:20, at approximately 9:20 this morning, our aviation unit saw what they thought might be the child. One of our deputies went into the water and recovered the child. He was already deceased and beyond help. So now we're involved in a death investigation. It's active at this point, and we'll see where it leads.
Gosh, just sad in so many ways. You can only imagine what that family is going through, but it sounds like it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
Well, story number 2 today, and that is 4 teenagers arrested in a brutal beating of a 35-year-old man in Polk County.
Yeah, this was a very brutal beating here, Garrett. Deputies say that the victim suffered serious injuries to his face and ended up in intensive care at the hospital. We heard from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, and he said that the teens told investigators the man was, quote unquote, bothering a friend who has autism just moments before that beating. The sheriff showed video of this attack. Honestly, it was hard to watch. He admitted it was hard to watch himself. The 35-year-old victim was reportedly pummeled and kicked by the teenagers over and over again, and that's what you'll see in the video. Authorities said that the man was hospitalized in an intensive care unit with pretty serious injuries to his face, including a broken nose, broken jaw, multiple lacerations, and plenty of swelling to his face. We heard from Grady Judd a couple hours ago. He held a press conference where he spoke a little bit to the extent of that man's injuries.
He was beaten so bad. You might ask, well, how bad was he beaten? How about a broken jaw, for starters? How about his teeth are all knocked loose? How about, in addition to that, he's got lacerations to his orbital sockets. He's got swelling on his torso. He's got a broken nose. All because they jumped on him and beat him without mercy.
You mentioned that video, and it is kind of hard to watch. And 3 of those 4 teenagers are charged with second-degree attempted murder for this very serious charges for this incident. And it was the 17-year-old, investigators say, who threw the first punch. Sad situation.
Very sad. And you may remember during that press conference, the sheriff noted that those boys, as they approached that 35-year-old man walking, He was not bothering those teenagers, but as they approached, they took off their shirt, took off their shoes, and he said that that is known by a lot of people as you're about to begin engaging in a fight with someone. So he could see what was about to happen, what you imagine would happen next happened, and now we have a man who's in the hospital with extremely serious injuries.
Yeah, and we'll have more on this story coming up on Fox 35 News this evening as well. Story number 3, and that is budget negotiations. I don't know if standstill is that the right word? Back to square one, it seems, after the framework for a deal has really kind of fallen through over disagreements over tax cuts.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. The House and Senate negotiations have apparently deteriorated in the last 24 hours or so. In a letter to Florida's House of Representatives, Speaker Daniel Perez says the Senate will not hold a vote on tax relief. So now that budget deal, it's off the table. Originally, you may remember the two sides were about $4.4 billion apart in spending, with the House looking for a smaller budget than either of those offered by the Senate or Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, our governor said that he would veto the House tax cut plan. The Senate seems to be siding with Governor DeSantis and abandoned the multi-point framework of the deal that extended the session. Well, without tax cuts, the House has taken the Senate president's priority off the table, and both of the sides couldn't agree on a budget deal, which typically is the last thing that lawmakers wrap up before leaving Tallahassee after that 60-day session concludes.
Yeah, and this was already going into overtime because they weren't able to pass the budget in those 60 days. We're supposed to be able to come back this coming week and kind of hash through those, with the budget conference. Now the House is saying we're not going to be able to do that next week. The Senate apparently seems to think they might still be able to have that deal by by June 6th, the end of next week, which was the initial thought.
Right.
But we'll see. I mean, the House wants to extend that to June 30th, which is the last day you can pass a budget anyway, because the new fiscal year starts July 1st. So the big question is, where do these negotiations go from here? And that was something I asked Peter Schorsch this afternoon from FloridaPolitics.com. And he says he's not even really sure, because he was talking about really just how bad relations between the two chambers have gotten right now.
I don't remember this kind of, I don't want to say constitutional crisis, because it's not as serious as it would be when we say that at the national level, but I haven't seen these deadlines get blown like this before. I don't know who's going to back down here. I really don't.
It kind of seems like we're playing a game of chicken here.
Yeah, and again, the level of distrust. I mean, when the off-the-record conversations that I'm having with both sides of legislative leadership, I mean, it's not proper for television if I told you what they said, but it's a lot of the F word. There's a lot of SOBs. There's a lot of that.
In all of that, I would say is fair to say is not language you want to be hearing when you're trying to come to a compromise or come to some sort of agreement. So it really does sound like things are not in a good situation right now.
No, it does not. But obviously, we'll have to just watch, and time will tell what happens in the coming weeks.
All right, that deadline will be here soon.
Oh, yeah.
Story number 4, we're hearing from the brother of new Pope Leo XIV, and that brother lives right here in Florida.
Yes, he does. So let's backtrack. Yesterday, Leo XIV was elected as the next pope and actually celebrated his first mass as pontiff at the Sistine Chapel today. Now, the 69-year-old that you see right there, Pope, is the first U.S.-born pontiff. He's from Chicago and has traveled the world, has extensive travel history. He spent much of his career in South America and holds dual citizenship here in the U.S. and Peru. Now, like Garrett mentioned, we've been learning much more about the newly elected Pope throughout the day, and we actually heard from one of his brothers who lives here in Florida.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stuck out about what he said is when they were little, Robert, now Pope Leo, loved to play priest, and so they would tease him about being Pope someday.
We used to play as kids, you play. He used to play priest. I never played priest. My other, who plays priest? He liked to play priest, and it's like, okay. So we teased him about that, and we teased him about, even as little kids, what do you think, you're the Pope or something like that? And how you just want to be the Pope of everybody, don't you? And we just give him all kinds of grief about why do you want to play priest? Why do you keep blah, 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 just teasing. And then he went in the seminary. It's like, okay. And from that point on, you know, obviously that's been his life. He loves it. He's done very well at it, as evidenced by a group of his cohorts picked him to be the Pope. It's like, it's mind-boggling. How does that happen?
Crazy for them, I'm sure, like still wrapping their heads around it. Like, your brother's the Pope.
I know. And he talked more in that interview. He said something as simple as, you know, you're used to being able to pick up your phone and call your family member. He's like, how do we get in touch with our brother now?
Yeah.
Which is wild to think about.
It is wild, and it's just crazy. And it's also interesting because, you know, this is the first American Pope. Right. So this is the first time that kind of we have seen this aspect of it. The family members, you know, here in Florida who are related to him. It's just an interesting, really interesting to see. And again, I'm sure they are so proud of him as well. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, that is today's Top 4 at 4. Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer joins me now. And TJ, we have continuing to have more of these storm alert days and some chances in the area. Just a lot to watch right now, and a pretty active pattern.
Yeah, I feel like we went from so dry, Garrett, to really active. But of course, we don't need the severe weather. But getting the rain, that's certainly been the silver lining for sure.
Yeah, and we know those rain chances are going to continue. Rain and storm chances going to continue into our Mother's Day weekend.
I know that's the other downside, but it's certainly looking that way. I don't think it'll be a washout, Garrett, but definitely having the Fox Local app, the Storm Team app, you can get all of those alerts in the palm of your hand. But we'll be here with you every step of the way to make sure we're keeping you ahead of anything that is nasty that does form this weekend. But definitely a good weekend to have those handy and have the rain gear handy as well. We can see some storms that have already formed here this afternoon with the help of the sea breeze starting to work inland, really focusing close to the coast right now on Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. Again, it is an alert day for that reason, for the threat of some strong to severe thunderstorms. Zooming in, you can see some lightning essentially on top of the Space Coast right now across northern Brevard County, southern Volusia County. We can see some of the lightning strikes there. 111 strikes. You're now up to 116 strikes with the downpours there. Could even have a little small hail in the strongest of cores there. So be aware if you're traveling in northern Brevard County, just north of Titusville, and these eventually will continue to work off toward the east. But as the sea breeze continues to move inland, we'll likely see more storms firing up, and you can kind of see the field of clouds as we look off to the east right now from downtown Orlando, seeing those clouds starting to build up, a sign that there's a lot of instability in the atmosphere, and we certainly have it today with the warm temperatures and the moisture in the air. So that's why we have that threat of severe storms today, a low-end threat to a likelihood of severe storms. We have that 1 to 2 out of 5 on the risk scale, the 2 there in the yellow, or that likelihood that a few storms could turn severe, with gusty wind and hail being the primary hazards, as well as frequent lightning and the downpours. Now, what you're seeing here in red, this is from the Storm Prediction Center, and right here in this red, they've highlighted that chance for severe storms. Essentially, from the Storm Prediction Center, it's a 40% chance that we could get a watch issued in this area. So that means that it's not a huge chance. Usually when we start to see 60%, 70%, we're like, okay, we're likely going to get a watch, a severe thunderstorm watch. But in this case, we'll have to see how these storms start to evolve and progress. But either way, with the factors that we have in the atmosphere, gusty wind, large hail are the main concerns, and we are looking at that watch possibility across the Orlando metro through the remainder of our day. So let's time it out here. This is our future clouds and radar picture. On this alert day, we can see the storms continuing to blossom. This is a slightly overdone, but you can kind of see the storms at least pretty much on top of northern Brevard County, which is what we're seeing now. So watch what happens. As we head throughout the remainder of the night, we see more storms developing through dinner time, through 8 o'clock. They'll eventually start to fizzle out as we lose that daytime-driven instability. And then as we head through tomorrow, we have a front to our north. So between that and the sea breeze developing during the afternoon, we could see some more showers and thunderstorms developing through the latter half of our Saturday. So about mid-afternoon through dinner time, we'll have to watch for some more strong storms unfolding, and they continue to develop as we head through the evening. Then fading away tomorrow night, and then we start to do it all over again Sunday as this area of low pressure continues its trek to the north and east. So it's certainly an active pattern, multiple chances for stronger storms as we head through our Mother's Day weekend. Tonight, we're back down into the upper 60s and lower 70s as those storms start to fade away. Definitely drier late tonight than tomorrow. Hit or miss showers and thunderstorms again, especially in the heating of the day with highs right up around 90 degrees. There's tomorrow's risk. We can see it encompasses a good bit of the viewing area. Once again, that's something we're going to continue to monitor as we head through time. We can see it's essentially the entirety of Central Florida here, and that possibility of a storm or two, including some gusty wind and hail tomorrow. Now, as we head into the day on Saturday, we continue to see that potential for more showers and thunderstorms. This is 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then as we head through our Saturday night into the wee hours of our Sunday, our Mother's Day, we're seeing those storms fading away once again, but they'll likely spark up again with the help of that area of low pressure on top of us. So it's an active pattern, keeping the umbrella with you, keeping the chance of storms in the forecast. Now, for Mother's Day, we still have a low-end threat of severe storms. That 1 out of 5 or possibility there in the green encompasses our western locales. Still includes some of the metro, Orlando proper off to the west. This is thanks to that wind in the upper levels of the atmosphere starting to increase a bit as this whole storm system, this whole area of low pressure continues to work closer to us here at home. So I don't think it'll be a washout on Mother's Day, but hit or miss storms are on the table, especially later in the day. So be sure you have a way to receive watches in the mornings like the Storm Team app. You can have that with you before you're heading out for maybe brunch or maybe a cookout. Just watch the radar, watch the sky to make sure you're not heading into something that could be a little more dangerous. Now, this is Monday morning. There's that area of low pressure. You can see to the northwest, that storm system working in. I think Monday could at least be the potential for another more widespread day of severe weather because of the ingredients that are in the atmosphere. You can see all the rain moving in on Monday. It kind of depends on if we can destabilize things. If some rain is around in the morning, that may limit that potential for severe weather to kick off the work week, but nonetheless, a lot of rain is moving our way as we head through the day on Monday. So that is some good news if, you know, you're getting out and about and maybe you were hoping, hey, I don't need to get out there and water the grass. I can turn the sprinkler off because we need the rain. We're in a drought, but of course, we don't need the severe weather. You can see that impact day now on Monday as well. Still could have a few storms around on Tuesday, but we start to dry out as a high pressure builds back in. Wednesday, 86, and with that ridge on top of us, we're back into the 90s there, Garrett, on Thursday and Friday. So we start to dry out, and it looks like that trend may continue as we head further into the month. So after a little break from the dry, we might be right back in it.
I tell you what, how about a little in between? We went from so dry now to so wet, and then you're heading back to so dry.
I know. Mother Nature can't make up her mind. I feel like we just need a happy medium, just a little bit of everything.
That's too much to ask for, apparently. A Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist, TJ Springer, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
Before we go to break here, I want to show you this on the 408. This is between mile markers 10 and 11. You can see the right lane eastbound is blocked right now because of a crash that is in the process of being cleaned up right now, and that's causing some big backups and delays. If you are on the 408 heading eastbound, you can see that traffic backing up, moving slowly, just to make sure you do get over, give those emergency vehicles room. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, and some breaking news just in from Florida Fish and Wildlife, the Conservation Commission, FWC, confirming now the deadly bear attack earlier this week as the first deadly bear attack in state history. So there have now been a necropsy and DNA results that confirmed that, I'm looking here at this release that just came into our newsroom, 89-year-old Robert Markle was killed by a 263-pound male bear. Necropsy results confirmed that, as did DNA results. This man's body was found about 100 yards from his home. Investigators also found evidence that there was an encounter between that bear and the man near the home, that a dog had been killed by a bear nearby as well, and that there were also signs that that bear had entered the home. So again, now confirmation from these tests that had been run that this 263-pound bear did indeed kill an 89-year-old Florida man in Collier County. So that an update to a story that we had brought you earlier this week here on Fox 35 News Plus. Meanwhile, in Tallahassee, some more drama among the budget negotiations there that are really starting from scratch now, or have at least taken significant steps backward after disagreements over tax cuts. And so where do things stand now? Here's an explanation from Peter Schorsch, a reporter with Florida Politics, who I had the chance to speak with earlier this afternoon on Florida Live.
Yeah, it's really bad. The acrimony between the Senate President, Ben Albritton, and the House Speaker, Danny Perez, it's at a level that I have not seen before in all my years following the legislature. I'm trying to recall how bad it's gotten, and I can't find a precedent for it. There is a lot of distrust. There's a lot of talk about this person lied, that person lied. Right now, I don't know the way forward, and I don't think they know the way forward. It just looks like the Senate is not going to agree to the House's tax cuts, and the House is not going to take up the Senate President's key priority, a plan called Rural Renaissance. So they're at loggerheads now. The thing is blown up. I would like to say cooler heads prevail, but I said that last week, and I said that the week before. I'm waiting for the adults in the room to take over.
So, Peter, how did we get here? How did we get to where it is this bad?
Well, the House really believes that spending is out of control. They're not doging it like they are in DC, but they went and they looked at the governor's agencies, and they found, there was missing cars. There was $160 million in healthcare funding that couldn't be accounted for. There were all these things. And so the House said, hey, wait a second. We've been flush for a while. We spent a lot during the pandemic. Why don't we start taking it in a little bit? And so they proposed basically reducing the tax rate by 0.5%. The Senate likes to spend a little bit more. It's got they've got bigger constituencies. And so they are holding out they're saying that they want almost $4 billion more in recurring spending than the House. So that's a pretty big chasm. They made a deal right before session ended on day 60, where they were going to do a little bit of tax cuts, and they were going to do a little bit of the Senate President's Rural Renaissance plan. But then the governor, Ron DeSantis, came in this week and said he would veto any of the proposals by the House. And so at that point, the Senate said, hey, wait, why are we even going to go through this process, wasting our time if the governor's going to just back out? The House said, hey, we had a deal. You're now breaking your word. And so we're now at the loggerheads that we find ourselves in.
Is that what this comes down to then, that veto threat from the governor? Do you think that's really was kind of the final straw here?
Yeah, that's what, overturned the apple cart. And I'm not blaming the governor for it. He's been pretty clear that he didn't like the idea of a sales tax cut, because he says that benefits all of the 100 million tourists that come to Florida, all the part-time residents, et cetera. He wants property tax relief. He wants property taxes to go away and basically reconfigure how we pay for things at the local level. All of that being said, the governor coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to, veto your budget. It really does make it a academic exercise to go through that budget process, to hash out the over $112 billion that they wanted to spend. So right now, they don't have a big, what we call a top line number. Both the House and the Senate have different top line numbers. The House is now going so far as to say, hey, wait, we'll get rid of our tax cuts. You're not going to get your priority, the Rural Renaissance. Let's just go back to where we were. But the Senate's not even going to that at this point. So they're not, I say it's like a David Mamet play. They're not even talking about talking yet.
And so, like you said, that leaves a lot still up in the air. We've seen the memos from the leadership of the chambers, basically not really saying when things will even kind of continue or to that next step.
No, we know this. We know that the current session has been extended, and both the House and the Senate have to agree to it, to June 6th. The House wants to extend to June 30th when a budget needs to be in place by. The Senate is saying that they think that they can get a deal by June 6th, so they're not interested in extending right now. There's talk that the governor, through, I think it's Article 3, my friend Gary Feinert from Politico, he pointed out that the governor can basically end the special session and then call them back into a budget special session. So we're really kind of testing the parliamentarian law that governs these things. June 6th, again, is when this is supposed to be done by. They have to have a budget. It's by June 30th. I don't remember this kind of, I don't want to say constitutional crisis, because it's not as serious as it would be when we say that at the national level, but I haven't seen these deadlines get blown like this before. I don't know who's going to back down here. I really don't.
It kind of seems like we're playing a game of chicken here.
Yeah, and again, the level of distrust. When the off the record conversations that I'm having with both sides of legislative leadership, it's not proper for television if I told you what they said, but it's a lot of the F word. There's a lot of SOBs. There's a lot of that. And so right now we're kind of, what happens in the legislature is eventually one of the future leaders, not the current House Speaker or the Senate President, somebody that's kind of designated to be the next Senate President or maybe the next House Speaker, they will sometimes be looked to. In this case, Jim Boyd for the Senate, Sam Garrison for the House. Maybe they have a different path forward, because this is really going to impact them more than it's going to impact the current legislature. The current legislature is going to be gone in a year and a half. Sam Garrison and Jim Boyd are the people that are going to have to kind of clean up this mess. So if there's any breakthrough, it may come from one of the designated leaders.
And Peter, what's the cost to the taxpayers of all this, of an extended session that's going to be dragging on for who knows how long?
Well, right now, as long as they're not traveling, it's not a serious expense. I'm a limited. I'll make the Republican argument and say that if they come up with these tax cuts and they keep spending down, there may actually be some savings for the taxpayers in the long run. But if they keep going into special session up in Tallahassee, I always see the estimates about that at about $50,000 to $60,000 a day when you count up all the travel, all the expenses. The real kind of pain for all of this is the uncertainty with the member schedule. They've got to vote, and we have a part-time legislature. They're human beings. I know that the budget chief, they had planned a cruise. I know that a senior member of the Senate has a very important surgery that they planned for the summer. These are human beings. They've got businesses back home. They've got families back home. And so the pressure on them to get a deal done is intense, especially from the people that they have to live with.
Yeah, and when you're talking about those plans, that's certainly not a good way to engender some goodwill at a time where it seems like that's pretty low already right now.
Yeah, and that's, again, I would have thought some cooler heads will prevail. I will say, it's Mother's Day weekend. Maybe some people will have kinder things to say to each other. The big issue right now is the House has said it's going up there Tuesday to Tallahassee to extend, and the Senate has said it's not doing that. So somebody's got to blink there. That's the first game of chicken that's going to come to a conclusion.
Something to keep watching. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. A Volusia County woman is facing charges after she allegedly impersonated an officer, and not only that, but issued a fake traffic warning. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth joins us live now via Zoom. And Randy, pretty bizarre case here.
Yeah, Garrett, that is exactly how you could describe this situation. Viewers may remember we reported this story earlier this week when we had the arrest report that just outlined the details of what investigators were looking into, what the witness reported. Fast forward to today, I actually had a chance to talk with a witness who recorded this video, and he showed me the video in question, and he showed me the written traffic warning that you referenced that was written on a piece of notebook paper and placed on his dashboard. And today he described this experience as comical looking back on it, but that he said it is underscored by the seriousness of what happened. As you mentioned, investigators have arrested and charged the woman Alexis Rosati with at least 2 charges, 1 for impersonating a law enforcement official, and then 2 for using a badge or allegedly using a badge. What you're looking at now is that written notice he said was left on his car. And the video that you're seeing now is what he recorded of that interaction. And that's what he took to police. They started looking into this and realized the woman in the video, you see her mugshot here, that she was not actually a law enforcement official, even though in the video she is heard identifying herself as a law enforcement official, saying that she was on duty. And, you know, essentially that the witness was lucky that he didn't get an actual ticket. Again, want to say law enforcement said that she is not a law enforcement official, and so she would not have been able to give him a ticket.
What was that confrontation? What is the victim saying to her during this? What was he saying that he kind of confronted her about?
So to walk viewers back, to walk you forward, and one, when you hear the story later on today, you will only hear the victim, the witness's voice. He wanted to remain anonymous, wanted to share the story and get the video out there and a warning, but wanted to remain anonymous. But he said this started in the parking lot of this Walmart in Port Orange, and he parked in the courtesy law enforcement spot at the Walmart. I must add that yes, he parked in that spot. No, he is not law enforcement, but it is not illegal to park in that parking spot. So he was not breaking the law, not really breaking a rule, because law enforcement say, you know, it's a parking spot. We would like to use this parking spot, but it is not just for us. It's really just a courtesy. And he ran in, got a couple things, came back out, found that note on his dashboard, picked it up, said he was looking around and heard this woman start to yell at him about parking in that parking spot. And he started to talk with her about the note being left. And she essentially, in addition to that written warning, gave him a verbal warning. And he said initially he thought she was a real law enforcement official. It's not in the video, but investigators confirmed that she allegedly flashed a badge at him at least twice. And he said he initially started recording because he felt like if this is a real police officer, this isn't, you know, really professional. And he said once he started recording, he noticed the woman's demeanor change a little bit. She turned and walked into the Walmart. And he says that at that moment, I felt like I needed to ask some follow-up questions. And so in the video, you'll see him follow her into the Walmart and continue to question her, asking if she's law enforcement, asking, well, why didn't you issue me a real ticket if you have that authority? And after that interaction, he left and then reported this incident to law enforcement. They started looking into it, you know, looked at the video, tried to match the person, said, well, she certainly doesn't work for Port Orange Police, and started digging into it a little bit more, identified her as a caretaker to an elderly person in this community. That person who she takes care of is retired law enforcement, and investigators believe that she took that man's badge and allegedly used it in this incident and was, you know, gave herself some authority.
Well, interesting story there. Looking forward to hearing from this victim in your story coming up on Fox 35 News. Randy, we appreciate you joining us on Fox 35 News Plus this afternoon.
Thank you.
We also now want to go to Palm Coast, where the mayor is suing the city. Fox 35's Chris Lindsay has been following this situation closely. He joins us live now via Zoom here on Fox 35 News Plus. And Chris, what's the latest here?
So this all comes in the midst of a bit of drama that's happened here in Palm Coast in recent weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, they took a no confidence vote against the mayor, essentially saying that they want him out of office. The person who made that motion is Charles Gambaro. He's the one on the right there. He was placed into office last year because of a vacancy, a previous counselor that has stepped down. Per the charter, they're supposed to appoint someone, and then when the next election comes around, it would be an election. In this case, the lawsuit that is filed is saying that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. He's been in office ever since October, even though there was an election in November. So while this is all unfolding, Mayor Mike Norris of Palm Coast is suing the city, asking the judge to step in and say, hey, you have to have an election. They're hoping that a judge will come in and enforce that within a certain amount of time. He says in the past, they've worked with a deadline of about 100 days. So that's what's unfolding right now in Palm Coast.
How is city business going then? Because I would imagine it's tough right now with the mayor and having a pending lawsuit against the city itself, and clearly not great relationships with some of those on the council.
Yeah, there's been a lot of tension between the council and the mayor in recent months. Several weeks ago, they accused him of some inappropriate behavior. They accused him of breaking the charter himself and other rules that he was supposed to abide by. In the meeting that they issued the no confidence vote, essentially asking the governor to remove him from office, he actually wasn't present at that meeting. Things were very tense. The words dictator, inappropriate, unbelievable, these types of things were used to describe his behavior, his alleged behavior by other council members. So as they try to work through and figure out the best case in the best situation to put the city in, you now have a lawsuit, you have a no confidence vote, and you have a letter sent to the governor asking them to remove him from office. So unless Governor DeSantis does remove him from his post, they'll have to figure out a way to all work together. While all of that is happening, they could potentially lose a councilman if a judge views this lawsuit and says, hey, you have to have another vote.
A lot going on. And you also spoke today with Anthony Sabatini, who is a council member in Lake County, but also the attorney representing Norris. What did he say about this situation?
He says it's a pretty simple case to him. The charter says that if you appoint someone within the range of the election, you can either wait until the election passes and have the people vote, or you can appoint someone. And in this case, they did appoint someone, but once that election came, they didn't move forward with how were they supposed to, which is a citywide election and people having a vote. So he thinks that this is an open and shut case. He believes that once a judge reviews what has happened, that they will step in, set some sort of deadline to which a election, a citywide election, will be held, and they either could potentially have a brand new councilman, or perhaps he would be voted in again.
It sounds like quite a mess, and still a lot of questions at this point. So Fox 35's Chris Lindsay, we appreciate you joining us. We look forward to seeing your story coming up on Fox 35 News.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Yesterday, a cardinal born in Chicago became the first American-born pope. And today we heard from one of his brothers who actually lives in Port Charlotte here in Florida. And he was talking about growing up with the now Pope Leo XIV and their relationship. And we played earlier for you some of how they used to tease him about wanting to be the Pope someday, and as he would play priest as a child. Kind of crazy to think about, and the family says they're still wrapping their head around this. And some of the things they're also trying to figure out is how they're going to be able to see their brother. So this is Louis Prevost, who is the brother of Pope Leo XIV.
Jay, our other brother John, he's leaving for Rome at 5 o'clock in the hopes that they can see him now. And because he's, after, who knows, but we're kind of at the point, we'll wait till the big ceremony and we'll go for that. We went for his elevation to cardinal because I missed his ordination. He was ordained in Rome by the Pope, which, how many priests get ordained in Rome by the, when he was made bishop, I didn't see that. When he was made archbishop, I didn't see that. When he became cardinal, it's like, I'm not missing that. We're getting on a plane and going, and we did back in 23. So now, here's a huge step. I may not get to see him, may not get close to him, probably be out in that massive crowd in the Vatican Square, but by golly, we're going to be there and do our best to get to see him. When we went for his elevation to cardinal, we did get to meet with Pope Francis, which was quite the thrill. It's like, how many people get to have a meeting with the Pope, And it's like, he said, we were scheduled to leave Sunday with the rest of the gang, and we thought, well, let's stay a few more days and see some sights. And so we did, and Rob said, well, if you're staying, do you have time to meet the Pope? What do you mean, do we have time to meet the... Of course we have time to meet them. So he arranged for us to meet with Pope Francis, and that was mind-boggling. I thought, wow, that's incredible. It's amazing. I met President Trump during his first term, and I thought, like from me to you, how are you? Good, nice to meet you. And that's crazy, the presidents I've met and shook hands with and talked to. It's incredible, but I don't know what it may be. It's because of the faith background. Meeting the Pope was beyond meeting the president. It was just something about it. And now my brother's the Pope. It's like, now you kind of get a sense of where my mind is at. Blown, holy cow.
What do you think your parents would have to say about this?
They'd be out of this world as well. They were very devout Catholics. And again, they kind of had the sense he had a calling. The Holy Spirit was all over him, saying, and they kind of sensed that he was going to do great things, and they didn't push him. It was all on his own. They supported whatever we wanted to do. And when he said, I want to go to the seminary, we can do that. That's not free. That's Catholic high school, basically. Costs money. Plus it was in Michigan. We lived in Chicago, so you got the transportation, the housing. It's not we'll support you in that. And it was fantastic. And again, before he got out of that, I was already gone off in the Navy. So I missed all those early years of his schooling to become a priest, his ordination, his time at Villanova. I was aware that he was doing all that, but I was who knows where at the time.
Really quickly, when was the last that you talked to him? Has he tried to call you leading up into this decision in the election, or were you able to talk to him?
No, well, we talked, the last time I spoke to him, we typically, what's the word, like we all get on the same call all three brothers. And I think the last time we spoke to him was Tuesday, right before the conclave started. He was telling us, yeah, I got to pack my bags. I had to buy a new watch because you can't take electronic. He had an Apple Watch. Can't bring that in. So he had to get like a Timex or something with no electronics. Had to throw his iPad in the safe, you know. And he's saying, yeah, we're going to get locked up, and I won't be able to talk to you after this till God knows when. And I don't think in his mind he expected to be elected. I was probably 60-40. They're going to pick him. Just a feeling, because of what he's been through and what he's done, where he's been compared to the other Cardinals that were, you know, the select five. I think he was one of the select five. And if you looked at what they've done as far as work in the church, yeah, I think the number one best odds was the Secretary of State, because he's been there, but has he ever really gone out and been with the people per se? Has he gone around the world? I don't know. Yeah, he's Secretary of State, but has he run an organization? Has he done anything? And the same with the others. Cardinals in their dioceses and wherever they're at have a lot of responsibility, sure, but have they, you know, has the cardinal from the Congo, I think one of them was from, has he been outside the Congo other than to Rome, you know, to go do cardinal things? And the same with all of them. Yeah, they probably traveled a little bit. Well, then you look at Rob, he was head of the entire Augustinian organization as prior general, and that took him everywhere in the world that Augustinians have missions and churches, and it's like, okay, so he's been to all these different countries. He's spoken with some of the world, you know, countries' leadership, so he's had the exposure. He's run a big organization. He was elected twice, served 12 years, and he had to get out, 12-year term limit. So my thinking was they're going to see that, and they're going to know he's done more than just be a cardinal or a bishop. He's got worldly experience, and plus when he was in Peru, all his time with the missions and helping the people there. I think somebody on the news I saw last night, they were talking about Peru and how many changes of government they had, and he was involved with trying to keep that government together. You know, he can talk to the leaders of the countries and help them with their issues, and it's like, so what other cardinal has done that? And then the last position he held in Rome was at the dicastery of bishops, where he's the one that looks at all the priests, bishops, and filters out the good ones that should be promoted to bishop, archbishop, or cardinal, and then tells the Pope, hey, this guy's got it together. He's really good, and no, you don't want this guy. So in that role, I'm sure he met a whole lot of other cardinals and bishops already, and so they got to know him, so maybe that's how his name spread.
Pretty cool perspective to hear there. Well, defending champion Orlando Pride on the road again this weekend in the National Women's Soccer League. They are hoping to bounce back from a loss last weekend against Portland. They're playing North Carolina tomorrow night. And North Carolina, we should note, coming off an upset win against the Kansas City Current. Earlier, we heard from Orlando Pride head coach Seb Hines and defender Emily Sams.
Seb, coming back from Portland, quick turnaround, traveling to North Carolina. Just give us your thoughts on the kind of match you expect on Saturday night.
Always a difficult place to go play, you know, historically. It's always been a challenge there, the way that North Carolina like to play. They've found some form in the last two games as well. So we're looking to bounce back from our recent result as well. So it installs an exciting game.
When you talk about their dominance at home, you now have to go from Portland, who are also dominant at home, to now North Carolina, who are also dominant at home. 2 tough places to play. What's the mentality like? What kind of message are you giving to the team in having to face this difficult back-to-back road trip?
Yeah, every game's a challenge, regardless of where you go. You're right in saying that North Carolina historically have had a good run of form at their place. And again, it's just us getting back to our basics, getting back to who we were, previously, and making it difficult for the opponent.
And Emily was just in here talking about the disappointment in the form in the last couple matches. How do you kind of try and turn that around and get the mentality right headed in this match and find that form back? Yeah,
it's my job to do that as head coach of this team. I think when you look back at last year, we were always difficult to play against. We'd take the lead, and whether we go on to score more goals or we'd see the game out. In the last 3 games, we've conceded the first goal, and so we give ourselves an uphill challenge. One we've overcome, and the other 2 we haven't. So we have to make sure that we're sticking to who we are as our team and our identity, regardless of any environment that we're in. Everyone plays a part in it, whether you're a star, a substitute who comes on and makes the difference in the game. And so when you have everyone rowing in the right direction, you can, succeed in multiple ways. So it'll be great for us to get back into it on Saturday. I'm glad we don't have to wait too long and dwell on it. And yeah, the players are itching to get onto the field.
Emily, coming off a Portland road trip, going to North Carolina, just give us your kind of thoughts on the kind of match you expect on Saturday.
Yeah, I think North Carolina is a really good team. I think they have a lot of changes, or not a lot, but a couple changes in their team this year, and so I think it's always a tough challenge to go there and to win at their place. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, and I think we're disappointed from the result from the last weekend, so I think we're just excited to try to, get back on top.
You talk about going there, now you have to go. You've had to go to Portland and now turn around really quickly and go to North Carolina, 2 of the toughest places to play in the NWSL. What's that like? What's the mentality kind of like between the squad of kind of taking this head on?
Yeah, I think kind of like I said, we're just excited, and I think we have like a lot more levels to go up to, and I think we're all kind of disappointed with how the last couple of games have been going, and so I think we're just like eager and competitive in training and just trying to raise morale and just get all behind each other and see what we can do at North Carolina.
And the disappointment from the last couple of matches that you're talking about, how does that change? What is being done to kind of change that disappointment and making sure that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I think just have conversations about our mentality and like the things that really need to change, and just like all the little details that need to be better. I think we're all aware that we're not playing to the highest level that we can, and so I think we also take accountability for how we're playing into that, and then just like raise the level and just know that we're capable of playing way better than we've showed recently.
Here's another live look at the 408 as we near 5 o'clock. Still having some issues there, still a lane blocked, and you see in the other shot there, it appeared there had been maybe a vehicle fire of some sort that was responsible for the issues and the delays. So still keep that in mind. Well, that is going to do it for us here. Keep it right here. Fox 35 News at 5 begins in just seconds right here on Fox Local. A lot of good updates and stories coming up, so keep it here where the news will continue. Have a great night.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5.
You're on duty with Crocs on?
An alleged fake cop busted.
You can't give me a ticket.
Tonight, the man who got the ticket